Hello everyone, this is Dr. ClarkvonHeller and welcome to the second part of our series about the Jews. There are no more important and interesting people on this earth. We're listening to my favorite Jewish group, by the way. It's called Shalsheles, a chorister group from Jerusalem. And they're singing to their God, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and Jacob. And so, we want to welcome everyone. I have a co-hostess with me, Ivy. She's taking a little nap. She's not a very effective co-host, but I hope that you enjoyed today's show and part 2 of The Jews. And now we've transitioned into my office. I wanted to show you these. These were featured on my Facebook challenge, and make sure that I have them. Yeah, I think there's yes. What are these? Of course, are clasp to hold the talit, which is the garment used when men are praying. And many of you got it right on Facebook. Very good job. And your Jewishness is going up. And of course, everybody got this one right. The seven golden candlesticks, which were in the holy temple. Temple number 1, temple number 2, and of course, in the book of Ezekiel, it talks about temple number 3. So we'll see if there's going to be a temple number 3. In fact, that's in one of our series coming up. Today I wanted to show you some things on the computer. It's just easier. First of all, Israel is a very small, narrow country. Extremely small and extremely narrow and long. Jerusalem is surrounded on 3 sides by hostile neighbors, and those are Muslim Arabs. I'll show you the picture in a moment. Israel's population is 7 million Jews, 2 million Arabs. And 2 million Arabs. And we're talking about the citizens. There are 2 million Arabs that are citizens, and of course many of these are Christian Arabs, because you have to remember that's where the church began. The old city of Jerusalem has 4 quadrants, and those are the old. Well, I'm going to show you a picture of those. There is seething hatred beneath the surface. We're going to cover the fear factor. It makes a good movie, and it's very true, and I've experienced this. I experienced an attack. I was attacked by a Jewish lady one time at the Dead Sea Scrolls Museum for wearing the wrong thing, okay? And also, I'm going to give you another example when I was verbally harassed by a Jewish merchant because of where I was staying. I'll show you that in a moment. Right now, let's look at the map. I want to show you how Jerusalem itself is surrounded on 3 sides. Look at this. We can make it larger. Now, this is the West Bank. All right, and after the 1967 war, Israel pushed all the way to the Jordan River, and of course this is the country of Jordan. Here's Jerusalem, 5 miles south, Bethlehem, Hebron, which is very important because this is very close to where the patriarchs are buried, Abraham and Sarah, at the cave of Machpelah, which is in the Bible, and you can also visit it. And it's holy to the Jews, to the Muslims, and to the Christians. Yeah, so interesting. Here's Ramallah, which is the capital of the West Bank for the Arabs, but of course they are considering they would like their capital to be this part right here, East Jerusalem, and that's the contention. All right, here's Nablus, which is in the Bible as well, and so now remember, you're looking only at the top of Israel. Now Israel also has the southern desert area, the Negev, which we went over on our first video. And so, but this is just the most populated part up here. Now, here's the Sea of Galilee. Let me orient you. There's Nazareth, where Jesus was raised as a boy, according to the New Testament. Okay, Tiberias, named after the emperor, who was the emperor during the crucifixion of Jesus, was Emperor Tiberius. Tel Aviv, here's the airport you're going to fly into, and then you take the little train to Jerusalem. But I want to show you how Jerusalem is impacted right here between the Arab people, the Palestinians, and over here is the Gaza Strip. Well, I want to jump to the fear factor since we're on the map here. How would you like to be surrounded by people that are hostile to you historically? Well, it's really bad. So what did Israel do? just build a wall around the whole country. And so their enemies, they built a wall around the entire Palestinian areas of the West Bank. This red, if you can see it there in the little video, is the wall. And they went down here and also placed a wall around the entire Gaza Strip. Now let's look at a few population numbers. In Israel itself, we have about 9 million citizens. 9 million citizens. Now, we're talking about over here, not the West Bank. We have 9 million citizens. Of those, 7 million are Jewish and 2 million are Arabs. And the Arabs can be either Christians or Muslims. Now, in the West Bank, there are about 2 million Arab, Muslim Palestinians or Christian Palestinians as well. Because, of course, Bethlehem is a Christian city of Arabs. Down here, well, they have both, but of course, originally it was a Christian city. But now Christians are leaving in droves in Holy Land, and now it's enormously decapitated. It's a very small number of Christians who are left in the Holy Land, which is kind of sad. Now in Gaza, they have another 2 million. So we have 2 million Arabs living in Israel, and another 2 million Arabs living here on the Gaza Strip, which is extremely, well, I saw a statistic that this was the most densely populated region in the world. So 9 million citizens in Israel on this side, 7 million are Jews, and 2 million are Arabs. Yes, the Arabs can be citizens of Israel. I'm sure they have to go through all kind of, a lot of documentation, but they can become, and we have even Arabs, Muslims, or Christians who are in the Knesset, which is the Jewish parliament as well. And so that takes care of that. Now let's look at the old city. Let's go back. In the old city, the most ancient quadrant, and there are 4 quadrants in the old city. 4 quadrants. The Armenians were the first. And in the Jewish quarter here, because remember for 2,000 years the Jews were not even allowed in Jerusalem. They were kicked out in the year 70 by Titus when they took over the city, and I guess they couldn't come back for 2,000 years. And so this is Jewish quarter, so it's new, it's clean, etc. The most ancient would be the Armenian quarter, because Armenia was the first country right after Christ to accept Christianity as an entire land, as an entire nation. And so they're still here, and they're the ones that have those pointy black hats, the priest, because it represents Mount Ararat, which is in Armenia on the border, and so they are very proud of Ararat. And you'll see one of the streets there is called Ararat Street. You have the Muslim quarter, which is the largest, and in the Muslim quarter, believe it or not, this is where the Via Dolorosa is, which is the way of pain or the way of suffering that Christ, when he took his cross, endured. And so this is very famous. And then, of course, the Christian section. I say this for the last because in it you have the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And this is where Christ was crucified and was buried. And so you have 2 crosses because there's a dome for where he was crucified, and there's another dome where he was buried, where the tomb of Christ is. Now, how about this part over here? This is the Dome of the Rock. And so this area is about, I don't want to say how many acres, I forgot, but you can Google it. It's a very large area, and it's the highest area in Jerusalem, and it's home to the 3rd most holy mosque in Islam, and that's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, which is down here on the south side of this Temple Mount. The Jews and Christians call it Temple Mount, and the Muslims call it the Haram al-Sharif. And the Dome of the Rock is the Golden Dome, which is here. And upon that rock was where Abraham was going to sacrifice Isaac, and the Muslims say he was going to sacrifice Ishmael. And there are all kind of things. When the Christians took over in the year 1099 with the Crusades, there was nothing up here. I mean, it was just rubble and farming or whatever. It was just nothing. And so they heard that the Christians believed that this rock was where Jesus was tried, or the praetorium of Pontius Pilate at one time. And so they built the Dome of the Rock was already there because it was built about the year 700. It was already there. But the Knights Templar knew that this was all, they thought that this was the praetorium because there were crosses that were carved into the rock. They're still there today. And so they changed the Dome of the Rock from being a Muslim building into a Christian, and they called it a temple. I think Templo Domini, the temple of the Lord. And from that word, this became known as the Temple Mount. And the Jews say that this is where both temples, both the temple of Solomon and the temple of the great temple of Herod were located right here in this area. And let's get back to our original. All right, now Jerusalem is a very small country. We've been over that. The population is divided. The old city, there is seething hatred. And I'm going to carry you. I want to show you something. I was wearing this bufanda, or this scarf, in Jerusalem one time. And of course it has the word Jordan on it because it's the country of Jordan and the Jordan flag. But it looks very much like the Palestinian flag as well. And so a Jewish lady verbally, well, no, she physically attacked me. She came and ripped this off my neck, and I almost fell to the ground, and she was screaming at me in Hebrew. And so I immediately realized what the problem was. It was super cold, and that's why I had this on. But I forgot. In West Jerusalem, it's not good to wear symbols of the Arabs, and because it represents the conflict. So I made a terrible cultural error, and I apologized to her in English, and so she stormed off, and so I felt very bad about that. So I took it off until I went to to East Jerusalem, where the Arabs live. And that leads me to something else. Oh, behind me you can see the Dome of the Rock, which is, I took that picture, I think in 1999. Yeah, it was really great. Yeah, it's a magnificent, this is up on the Temple Mount. Everybody's seen this. It's basically the symbol for Jerusalem, I guess. It's absolutely interesting. Now, my second occurrence that I had, which was kind of bad, was that I was in the Jewish quarter, and there was a very nice Jewish merchant, and we talked. He didn't know English. He didn't know, my German is horrible, and so I tried German, and he wasn't good in German, and so finally I tried Espanol, Spanish, and yes, he spoke Spanish. So we conversed, how are you, where you're from, and how long you've been in Jerusalem, are you a tourist, and all, all the touristy questions, etc. And then he asked me, he invited me to his house, gave me his telephone number, said his mother would cook supper for me and welcome, he's Jewish, and welcome us to Jewish Jerusalem, and he was so sweet. And then he asked me, where am I staying, so he could pick me up that night. And so I told him at the St. George, the Episcopal Cathedral, St. George Cathedral. Well, it's in East Jerusalem where the Arabs live. And as soon as I said that, his countenance changed and he started screaming at me, get out, get out, get out, you stay with those dirty pigs, those horrible people. And he scared me. And so, I apologized. I said, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know, would upset you. So he was just upset at where I was staying. And so that's what I'm telling you, there is seething hatred underneath. And we as Americans and the Britishers, we just, are very confounded by that. But you have to remember, this is, there's a long history of bad blood between these with a lot of deaths on each side. So I don't want to judge them too quickly. And so those are my stories. Now I wanted to show you something else that you might be interested in. This is the Hebrew alphabet. Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, He, Vav, Zayin, Ket, Tet, Yod. And that is from 1 to 10. There are 22 letters, and there's some that can be used twice. And this can be a B or a V, depending if it has the little dot right there. There are only 22. And to some Jews, and to people that believe in the more spiritual qualities of their language, they believe that these are not just letters of the alphabet, but they're actually 22 biological creations of Elohim, and Hebrew name for God. But also they usually use the word Hashem, which means the name, because they don't say the name of God, which is a 4-letter name in Hebrew. That's very irreverent. But they will say Hashem, which means the name. Of course, those were just 2 instances that I've had in Jerusalem. Otherwise, I've never had a problem in Jerusalem. You just have to remember what to wear, be respectful. The Jews live on the west side and the Arabs live on the east side, and wear clothing, of course, which is appropriate to those, and you'll be just fine. I'm going to play you a short video that we made at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem 2 years ago when we were there, and it was quite lovely, and so I added that music to it from the internet. Isn't that gorgeous? This is the dome. Under it is the tomb of Jesus Christ. And it's called the edicule, which is a Latin term. I'm going to show you a little bit of this video as well. This was in the Arab quarter of Jerusalem, which is the largest of the 4 quadrants, of the 4 quarters. This is Mario wandering around, getting lost in these little alleyways, and it was a lot of fun. The people very nice. Of course, these are Arab people, but of course the Jews are everywhere too, because it's a united city. When I said they live on the east and the west, etc., but they can go on any side that they want. It's united, and it's very safe. Lots of soldiers everywhere. We're just walking through the city, and we were lost trying to find the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
I'm going one more. Hold on.
And so we went up these unknown stairs, this labyrinth. It was absolutely beautiful. It was a Sunday morning, and in December, and it was very chilly. Very, very nice.
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
And so we heard the bells, and we knew that we were there at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Here's another one. This one is taken from our website. No, this is taken from the ClarkvonHeller YouTube channel. I'm trying to talk and think at the same time, which you get my age is hard. Okay, here it goes. Oh, we're just down to, there's Mario waving at everybody. Oh, and now we're back to the other one. That's fine. And let me show you one. This was a pretty neat experience in Jerusalem. We found the Chapel of St. Helena, which is on top of the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
This is a well of fresh water.
And it's a spring.
It's called the Cave of St. Helen.
Or a well of fresh water.
Constantine, who found in this cave, well, this cistern.
And in this amazing, hustling, bustling city in December of 2018, one would be amazed that we could go into this place. We paid, I think, 2 shekels, which is about 50 cents, and went in, and we were the only ones there, of course. And it's not on the tourist map, I guess, and it's not too historic, but for us it was just very, very exciting. And I wanted to show you our final little snippet here. This is my absolute favorite thing about Jerusalem, and these are the magnificent walls.
The walls of Jerusalem. Aren't they magnificent? I just love it. We're
Very
close
nice.
to Herod's Gate, and these are natural rock formations, as you can see. Herod's Gate is down there. That bus nearly whacked me. And let's move this way, and you can see.
And that's enough. You see the beautiful walls of Jerusalem. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this. I try to keep the videos at least to 15 minutes or under. And so today we discovered some wonderful statistics about Israel as a country, the Arabs, the Palestinians. Some are Christians, some are Arab Muslims. We talked about the Jewish people. I talked about 2 instances that I had. And please don't get me wrong, because at these both times, you know, you just have to know what to say to be culturally correct and politically correct. Otherwise, you're not going to have any problems whatsoever. And on our next video, I'm going to tell you about my adventure down in Beit Umar on my way to Hebron, and with the Palestinian people, and also at Bethlehem University, which is an Arab university run by the Catholic Church in Bethlehem, which I have a dear friend that lives there. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed this series today, or this particular video. From Ivy and me in our little home here in beautiful McAllen, Texas, on the Mexican border, we want to thank you for seeing our second in a series of the Jewish people. Hope that you've enjoyed. So we're going to leave you with some beautiful Jewish music by my favorite group, Shalsheles. Ivy, say goodbye to the people. Did we have a great time today? If only Ivy could talk, she would tell you many tales. Bye, everybody. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Shalom.